Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Okay, this is Chris, and what I've got here, okay, is just a little guide for anyone who's going to be doing the Gypsy Widow tutorial. Now, ignore the name up here where it says China robot. That's basically because before it had a name, it was a robot that I was making, and it was going to China. That's the naming standard. Anyway, let's have a look down here and see what we have got, okay, and where I would start you guys. Well, first of all, okay, you're going to start with doing tutorials 1 through 6. Okay, now these are the ones that are going to get you started, and they're going to show you how to do the basic modelling of the piece. We're going to, start in there by making a few parts for our kit bash library, which grows quite large over time. Now, 7 through to 10. Okay, now you can follow these parts if you want. These are specific to if you're still using Quixel Suite. Quixel Suite was depreciated while I was making the tutorial because it took me a couple of months to make this. So if you're using Quixel Suite and you want to know a little bit about how to use Quixel, okay, you'll find parts 7 to 10 useful. You'll find part 7 and 8 useful, and 9 probably anyway, if you want to know a little bit more about unwrapping and how to manually unwrap stuff using the built-in tools for 3ds Max. Now there are retopo and unwrap tools coming for 3ds Max eventually, but we don't know when they're coming. Okay, so if we start at number 11, okay, all the way down to 17, that's the middle part of the foot. Again, this takes some time. There's a lot going on in the tutorial because probably be easier actually if I come down to where the videos are here. Where are they? Here they are. Right, so the middle foot part's here to here, okay. It takes a while building the middle foot because again we're making a lot of kit bash stuff, we're starting to build our kit bash libraries. Okay, so middle foot's done, then the ankle support, we start building the piston buffers, okay. 19, this is optional, but I found this very, very useful for the rest of what I was doing, okay, is that I started building a little library of simple Arnold materials. Now these wouldn't end up being our final materials, okay, like the ones that look really good in the render, but nonetheless they're good ones. Okay, now we start moving down, so we've got things like our double dynamic piston builds, and we start on the upper foot. Now remember, I say this during the tutorial, the foot and the leg takes longer than any other part because we're building a library of parts that we can reuse over and over again. If you've only ever seen the references, if you look closely you'll notice that a lot of parts get reused because that's how manufacture works. Anyway, again, we keep building on the upper foot. If you don't want to follow along, if you think you can use the references to follow along, just do that, but come back to these if there's anything you get stuck on. You'll notice that the upper foot has its own special section here, the dynamic double pistons. Very important, we use a lot of dynamic double pistons, okay. Anyway, there's the internals of the ankle there, and then first 29 parts are basically about building the foot and building our kit bash library, and also discussing things like Arnold, talking about unwrapping, things like that. Okay, now start on the lower leg. As you can see, the lower leg, well, that's what, 9 parts, and that includes the pelvis main leg piston. Much simpler because obviously we have a lot of the parts we already need, and we start dragging them into place. Now then, mirroring and setting up the other leg. Okay, you can do that for the moment. This is just a preview part. I should point this out. This is very important. Okay, when you mirror the other leg and set it up, that is basically so that you can kind of look at it and go, oh yeah, that'll work. Because when it comes to rigging it, you can't mirror it. What you have to do is select the leg, shift and drag the leg. Okay, otherwise all your IDs basically get messed up in 3ds Max, and when it comes to rigging time, that leg's going to shoot out the window. So, okay, quick tip, part number 40 here, mirroring and setting up the other leg, that is just for our reference. Okay, now hip control pistons 1, obviously that connects it to our hip, and we do our rear leg pistons, so there's a little bit of go back, and then by the time we get to part 49, so we've done quite a lot of work, we're starting the waist. Now the groin guard I spend a little bit of time on because it's quite important getting the shape right. This is the part obviously where the top connects to the bottom. You want it to look good and you don't want it to look silly, which can happen quite easily. If you look at You know, some of the strange Japanese manga, you'll see some bizarre groins. Then we go on to the torso. Now, this is a fun bit because the torso is basically kit bashing galore. I talk again quite a bit about applying materials using Arnold. Okay, this isn't going to be our final material, as I pointed out. However, we do come back to it, so don't worry about that. Okay, fuel magazines. They were great, good fun. The torso shoulders. These are all details until we get to arm internals. Arm internals, okay, we start changing things and we use pipe muscles. So we've got flexibility, we've got those arms that kind of flex, we've got the appearance of muscles by using spline controls. Excellent, really good fun to use as well. Okay, now if we go down to part 85, we've got our arm armour and our arm detailing until we get to the hands. The hands are simple, 3 parts. Okay, and while we build them, we build our, what do you call it, hierarchy, which means that we can apply a very simple IK rig to it, and we'll be able to move the fingers. Bit of housekeeping and tidying, finishing up the foot, applying the rig, very very easy, and then I say goodbye to you all, and I'll miss you. Now, additional. So this is additional. This is the old cabin preparation. Okay, so we had a tutorial on how I was making the cabin. Originally, I was going for something a little bit more where we were going to have a pilot sitting in it and things like that. So you may occasionally get an error saying, "Where's the Vanguard?" because that was the pilot. I think you might find him if you unhide. He'll be in one of these max files somewhere. But I was going to go completely whole hog on the cabin. I may yet, but I wanted to get this piece done. Now, texturing. Really, really good stuff here. Okay, so we do an intro. We make our materials. So we're going to use Quixel Mixer because, like I said, Quixel Studio's out now. So I'm pleased that we were at the forefront of using that. We get Max ready, we make the base coat, we detail the base coat, we make some simple transfers, so these are nice small files, and we can stick them all over our model. And by doing that, we don't have to unwrap it, we can apply levels of detail to it that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And it gives a fantastic effect. And then we build some rubber, apply some more materials, and build some more textures. So it's basically, you know, 9 big parts here. Got to keep you nice and busy, but you'll get an excellent finishing piece. And then how I rendered. Okay, so that shows you basically how I set it up in Arnold and how I rendered it out. Now, it's not a high quality render because it took 4 or 5 hours for the render that I got because my system's starting to get slow. To be honest, there's a lot of hardware improvements. The computer I'm using will be more or less the same as a low-end one that you'd be using, to be honest, because I couldn't afford a decent one. Right, that's every single work-in-progress image. That is the 3rd pack of RAR files for all of the files that are included in this. Now, if I go up here to my references, I've included images for the back, front, arm, leg, torso. These are just some things I found on the internet, and there's our reference image. So our reference images are inside the reference images RAR file. And then, these are the files that I submitted. You may not, you won't be accessing this through Dropbox, so I wouldn't worry about that, you'll not see those. But we've got all the materials that I built, specially, okay? Your reference images, your RAR files, your transfers, and your work in progress images. Plus you've got access to, well, it's basically every single max file, and there's a lot of them. So make sure you've got plenty of space on your computer when you download this lot. Okay, so this is basically everything you need if you want to make yourself an enormous robot. Okay, now I am, to be fair, kind of a robot specialist. It's what I've been doing most of my adult life, which is a strange thing to be doing. But if you follow this guide, you know, there's nothing to stop you being there too. It's something that takes a bit of commitment. You do need to have a bit of an artist's eye, but you can do this, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So come on, have a good time, and I'll see you in the tutorial. And thanks so much for looking at it. Bye bye.